Morning, everybody. Welcome to the new timing for Red Morning. We're doing Sunday here. Turns out Rich does not want to spend any of his summer indoors, so did a little bit of shifting. Got an awesome guest for you guys. So you guys liked Wine More Please. You thought he was awesome. You're a huge fan of Rule Zero Dad. And here we got Curvy. I think you've been around easily as long, if not longer, than the rest of us.
So you and I started kind of at the same time, to be honest.
Oh,
I
really?
was the one telling you that you need to learn how to type.
And my typos still haven't gotten any better.
And it's
Um,
not even the typos. You would say shit you would say off the cuff stuff that made sense to me and like three people, but you wouldn't explain it. It was beautiful.
Fair enough. All right. So I guess giving guys an introduction on who you are, would I guess a fair assessment? You know what? Actually, it's probably gonna be better if you word it because I'm gonna jumble it up here. I guess we
Right.
can start with the beta buck side of things or wherever you're comfortable with.
I mean, so I am like the setup to be a beta box. Like, first of all, I have good money. Um, I'm like 5'4", all of me. Okay. I have a screwed up back, like that's visible. Like all that stuff. And I was kind of brought up to, I don't know. So my mom is like a perfect human being as far as she actually was a good mom. Okay.
Hmm.
So I didn't have any of that drama growing up. I didn't know women were drama. I didn't have that sense. So I
Right.
never knew how to deal with that crap. So, my thing is I like taking care of people, so it would be nothing for me to buy somebody dinner. It would be nothing for me to buy whatever, and it didn't even hit like the radar as I'm just providing something and getting nothing out of it. So yeah, at 5'4", whenever I was in my early 30s, I got married to a lady who basically wasn't a good match for me, but I didn't see how much of a beta I was being with her, how much it was like letting her walk all over me with nothing in return. But that's how I wound up on Reddit and all that stuff.
Same as the rest of us, out of pure frustration, you just type your problem into the internet and it pops up there.
Literally, literally. I remember reading like Mike's story or something like that.
Oh, Michael's story. Yeah, that
Yeah.
classic.
Yeah, and just being like, oh fuck, that hit me so hard.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, Michael's story is a reference. It's actually a guy who commented in Dalrock's blog. If you guys don't know, Dalrock's is like a Christian red pilled guy. He's got a family. He just likes kind of doing the Rolo thing and dissecting the world as it is right now. And he told a story about how he was just like that. Good kid, good thing, wanted to have a good family, a girl and him equally invested. And then the thottery he saw in college just had him give like a huge freak out. And at one point, he said one of the girls told him, like, he's like, you can't act like this and expect to get a good man. She's like, I'm going to have my cake and eat it too. And he just basically was like, I don't know what to do with this. There's no good answers. And he kind of just gave up. But yeah, it's a good story. Yeah, and then you get here and dude, I've loved your transformation between you and CPAN. I don't know which one of you guys I enjoy more.
I mean,
um,
mine was, like I wasn't ever the hot kid. Like I wasn't ever that popular with women, but I was popular enough that somehow I got laid anyway. But I didn't understand why until I don't know, somewhere around college. I was like, huh, when I'm an asshole to women, they like me.
just
And
accidentally stumbled upon it.
right, but the thing is, like, I didn't like being an asshole. Like, that's just not me.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of gave it up, and that turned sideways. But then I guess the thing I had to learn was how to be just a little bit of an asshole.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because the story I was going to bring up, and I think you know where I'm going with this one. Because Rolo and Rich and that, we had a decision. Let's like rile up some black pill guys. Think it'd be kind of funny. And they're playing the nothing we do matters because we're missing genetics or money or something. And I was thinking of that story after you left your wife. And since then, it's been nothing but like 20 somethings, which is awesome. But
I
that
think,
first one,
okay, to be fair, there was like one 32-year-old.
okay. Well, aren't you generous? Maybe you beta male. Where's your cam girls? No. But the story I was thinking was hilarious. It was this girl. You were fooling around with her for a while. And was it a boyfriend or a husband or ex-boyfriend that wanted to get back with her?
Yeah. So I was fooling around with her, and I had actually stopped fooling around with her by the point of this story. We had gone out with a bunch of coworkers to a bar and just hanging out. I had picked her up from her house. Her fiance was playing cards with his boys, and I would join them once in a while. Like, it's not a big deal. I brought her back, and this guy's like angry at everything and whatever. The card game didn't go well. And he's yelling in my face, hey, is it worth it? Is it worth it? You know, blah, blah. And like, he's an inch from my face. He's twice my size. And I'm like thinking, okay, well, if he hits me, it's going to go badly for both of us. You know, but I just stood there, and this chick took him by his neck, put him against a wall, and just ripped him a new one.
Don't get mad at my husband's or my wife's boyfriend, damn it.
Pretty much. And the thing is, like, he was ultra embarrassed about it because apparently he was blacked out. And you know, a few weeks later, we were out of the bar somewhere, and it's a small town, so we all see each other. And he's like, yo, you know, hey, I'm really sorry about that. That wasn't me. And I'm like, okay, well, you know. And he brought up, yeah, I really don't think you were trying to fuck, you know, so-and-so. I just kind of chuckled.
Dude, I love that story so much because it's like the 80s. Remember the nerds versus the jocks? Like, you literally had Chad mate guarding his girl in front of you when it was already too late because you'd been doing her and you were done with her by that time.
Right.
And I love that story.
The thing that people don't realize is that all this, you know, money, looks, game, whatever else, it's all about what a particular person sees, a particular woman sees. So
yeah, the perception.
Right. So do you, like, if you have money, you spend it on yourself. If you, you know, buy yourself some nice clothes, look good in them, know how to dress, go to the gym, like, whatever. And if you don't have money, don't go to the gym, but work out at home. Like, figure it out, because ultimately, the one thing that women are attracted to is a guy who has his shit so on lock that her shit doesn't bother him.
I like how that's put. I'm going to tweet that. I'm going to retweet you. I guess you have yours on that one already. Yeah, no, I agree. 100% perception. Because who was it? Somebody else from MRP, but they were talking about how between men and women, men usually ace the IQ test part, the spatial logic, and women flunk it out. And so the point was, yeah, a girl may only like tall guys, but if she's into you, she'll think you're 8'10" because girls have no idea what height means.
Right. Well, one, they have no idea what height means. Two, they will also always make excuses for why they like you. So the girl that I'm sleeping with now, she's like 5'9", 5'10", whatever.
Right.
You know, 26, nice body, all that stuff. She'll make fun of my height all the time. I just tell her to get on her knees. Like, that's the response. I mean, like, it has to be automatic. Like, if you have something, like, seriously, if you have something biologically that's not ideal, okay? If you have a scar on your face, if you have no chin, if you have buck teeth and didn't get braces, whatever, just fucking lean into it.
Well, I got to admit, like, you've done that pretty well. Like, I don't remember, you talk about your spine, but I can never remember what it is.
So, without naming the name of the disease, so it's a cousin of Parkinson's, where my brain tells the muscles in my back that being curved is straight.
Oh.
That's why the S-curve name originally, that's where it comes from.
Oh, fair enough. But then, like, to look at it, like, obviously we've seen each other in real life. you're in good shape. So it's clearly not something that can stop you from working out.
So, you can if you let it, right? For a long, I'm 5'4". I was pushing 200 pounds when I got on MRP. That did not look good. If I, when I would say, oh, I'm 30% body fat, I was way underestimating my body fat.
Really?
I mean, I was a fat kid, but like, okay, so I had to get brain surgery to get to the point where I could work out. Like, you do what you have to do.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part because that was kind of that point. Because you were saying there was like a good chance you weren't going to survive the brain surgery or something bad was going to happen. And it kind of flicked us. I don't know if that's what did it, but that's how I perceived it. Flicked a switch in your head and you just like gave 0 Fs at that point. You realized, like you said, a little bit of an asshole. And I was cool with it now. Because
Right.
like, what are they
Right.
going to do? You almost died.
Like, right. And the thing is, so yeah, the surgery went well, obviously, all that stuff, but it could have not ended well. I could have had a stroke, whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
Dying would have been the easy part if things went south from there.
Jeez.
But that's the risk you have to take sometimes. And it's not, again, it's not about getting the girl. It's never about the girls. It's about having a life you want to live, and the girls will show up at your door pretty much.
Well, you got to have some game. Not going to lie. You've still been talking your way into their pants.
Right.
And
But that's
standing
what
up
I
to their
mean.
fiancés.
You literally kind of have to let it happen. Like, I'm not the dude that can walk into a club and get girls unless I walk in with, I don't know, the killers from my gym. Like, if I walk in with them, if I walk in with 3 or 4 6'5", 250-pounders who are in shape and they defer to me, you better believe I'm getting laid. But
Just call
on
them
my
your
own,
bodyguards.
that's not going to happen. Talk about pre-selection. That's pre-selection right there. You got other guys deferring to you, or at least treating you as equal when, like, on the surface, that doesn't make sense.
But psychologically, it makes perfect sense once you understand how people work. Like we're
Right.
lazy, so we look at what other people have already assessed and approved, and we're like, good enough.
Right. And so the people who approve of you, who are your selectors, who are your wingmen, even if they're not really wingmen, whatever it is, they also have to look good. Like, an ugly chick being the girl you go to a club with is not going to help you. She has to look good. Other guys who are in your circle who you go out with have to look like they can get laid themselves. They have to look good. It's very, very simple. So you kind of have to select your circle based on that.
Yeah, well, that's what gets me too, because I know we were talking a bunch on like Twitter. I can't remember who it was that said the thing, something about a discussion of these guys. They call themselves Black Pill, but it's incel with a different name, essentially. And you put up the good line, which is one that I often have to be reminded of, that we've had like as mantra for Married Red Pill. We're not here to recruit. We don't need you to believe us. Like, you're here if you want to be here, otherwise F off.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like, we're not a movement. This isn't feminism. This isn't feminist theory, okay? Like, this is not one of those things where we have to go out and change how society views men. I mean, okay, sure, that would be great to have like law changes and all that, but the law doesn't apply to you if you have high enough value at any given time.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That's the thing. I've never seen a girl weaponize the legal system against a guy she was attracted to. Maybe after she loses attraction, but I mean, there's mitigation strategies for that, or you just don't opt into the problems. But yeah, 100%. Broken glass, man. They'll crawl through broken glass for you.
Dude. So the first girl that I really hooked up with when I was getting separated, and this was actually before I was getting separated, I worked with her. And people say, don't get with girls at your job, whatever else. For me, that's kind of worked out in the sense of that's where people can see me at my most, I guess, alpha, just because I'm in charge there.
Right.
And even though I'm not the boss, I lead. So they can see part of my personality there. So that worked out. But like, that chick would be on my dick. Like, she would make excuses with her boyfriend. I'm pretty sure No, actually, I am sure that I fucked her in her bed before her boyfriend fucked her in her bed.
Dude, you've been there. That's my chapter. Like you, oh yeah, you got the book. That's chapter 2. That's Rose. Half hour after meeting a girl, telling me how great her fiance is. Meanwhile, I'm right in there. It's an illuminating experience.
I mean, he's a really sweet guy. He's so nice. He's so kind. I really respect him. Let me suck your dick.
Literally that, man. I swear to God. So here's my question though for you. I have a strict like don't shit where you work policy myself. I think I've broken it once at work when I was in the military, and it worked out well. But I'm curious, like, if you had to take any extra measures, or how did the breakup go? Because that's always the saying. It's not relationships at work aren't the problem; it's breakups at work.
Right. So I handled it from the beginning in a way that if she did anything, I would demolish her social status.
I'm afraid to ask for more depth onto that one. I have a feeling that's not going to be a YouTube friendly answer.
No, so it'll be YouTube friendly. But what I did was I set up a separate email, and every conversation that I would have in that email with her initially
Right.
would be um, having her ask the really charged questions. Having her ask for the dick pic, pretty much.
Oh, look at you actually using that. What's that? Enthusiastic compliance stuff that everybody's complaining about.
Exactly. So I flipped it, and I said, and at some point halfway through that relationship, I guess, she said, I just went through our old messages, and I realized that even if I wanted to like do anything negative to you, I can't because you have so many pictures of me that I sent and so many things that I said to you first. You know,
Yeah, well,
and
no,
that's
it
that's
worked
how
for
that
Jan
works.
Giameshi.
Yeah, I don't mess with that. So, she actually burned herself at work. She's the one that got caught sleeping with somebody else later on and all that stuff. But that's neither here
Oh,
nor there.
poor girl. So what did they do then? They get rid of the one of them, or do they just reprimand them both, or
Oh,
remove
well,
them
no,
both?
she slept with a patient, so she had to go.
Oh, yeah, that's not good. Having said that, I've seen a lot of porns have that. Like, that's the premise of like 90% of the stuff. The rest is your stepmom's hanging out at home. I don't know why. It's kind of messed up, but whatever.
I mean,
And then Daniel asking, is Curve Romanian or English? It's English because we're talking in English. I don't think you're Romanian. Are you?
no, I'm not Romanian. If anything, I could be like Eastern European, Russian, but I'm not Romanian. I've been in the States for like 30 years.
Mhm. Oh yeah, like actual Russian, not 25-year-old trend lord Russian.
No, actual right. That's why I would always make fun of him, or I would say something to him in Russian, and he wouldn't like respond. I'm like, "You're a bitch."
Yeah. If you guys don't know, there was a certain guy on the red pill, like a single guy. He always went on about how Russian he was. He's like some California kid. Absolutely ridiculous. And then we had like actual Russians were just laughing.
It, that whole thing, like I tried like that sub for a while, and I couldn't hang with the autism.
It's hard, man. Oh, speaking of which, autism is spreading fast. It's a fast spreading message because so last night about 4 people gave me direct messages. I guess there's a podcast now, a Black Pill podcast, where they just sit in there and rant about all of us. Everybody red pill. Half of them kind of deserve it. Like they're also ranting on Anthony, so I can't fault him for that. But it's part of that. Back to the topic of where we were talking about, like it's not a movement. You don't want to recruit people anyway. A lot of people try to red pill their friends. These guys don't want to win. They just want to wallow.
Well, I mean, and that's obvious. If you're gonna make excuses, you're gonna make excuses to make yourself feel better. Because you have to be the center of your own story, and this is the part that they get right. You have to be the center of your own story.
Hmm.
But you can either be the hero or a victim, or you can be the poor kid who never like the usual theme in a movie where this nerdy kid goes through life and doesn't get respect or love or whatever else, and suddenly some woman like likes him for him. Well, they're just missing the some woman likes him for him thing.
I was
I
just
bet
thinking then
you.
the
So,
main
so, so
character in
here's
your
my
own story,
question
but
to
you picked
all the
passionate
black pill
Christ.
guys. All the black pill guys. If you had a woman who wanted to blow you, would you still be black pill?
Oh, guaranteed not.
Right, that's it. And I'm allowed to say that, right?
Ah, whatever. At this point, we've already had a couple F bombs. I'm sure it's done.
Right. I mean, the
Yep.
thing is, like, the black pill, like, if, I kind of like was, what if I have to kind of go my own way? Okay, but if I have to, like, if I can't get any play anywhere, fine, I'll go my own way, but I'm not going to be militant about it. I'm not going to I'm not going to blame women. Like, I don't want to fuck a fat chick, right?
That's your
So,
hard line.
right, and as maybe unfair as it is that, fat chicks do it to themselves and I can't help my size or whatever else happened to me.
Yeah, it's not your problem.
It's not okay. Yeah, well, it's not fair, but so what? Like, I can't make somebody get wet. Like, you know,
Yeah. No, I get that. But that's the thing. And I don't know. I don't know which way the tides are turning. Like, there's obviously two groups, guys who wanna have carve out some success, and then guys who would rather just wallow in the lack of it because it feels good to be around other people. And I honestly don't know which way the demographics are going to shift over the long term, because obviously we know historically you get enough disenfranchised men, put them in a place together, bad things happen.
right? It's going to be so the Arab Spring thing, right? Which was basically a bunch of disenfranchised guys who couldn't get laid and revolted. The thing that the West, United States, Canada, all that stuff is missing right now from that is actual economic hardship. Okay, like we literally have it too good for those guys to have enough of a don't give a fuck attitude to actually revolt.
Dude, that makes sense, because the guy from, was it Tunisia was the first one? He got a STEM degree. He was an engineer. He ended up having to sell fruit out of a cart. And I remember the thing that set him off the edge was the female bylaw enforcement officer kicked over his cart because he wouldn't pay a bribe. And I think it was like the economic hardship plus that final humiliation, I think, is what finally sent him over the edge. And that's the part that kind of got me too, because like he's an incel, he's been disenfranchised. And what did he do? He lit himself on fire. Like, he didn't even have the bravado to go like express his frustration on the world. But I mean, let's face it, a week later, Egypt.
Your mic went dead. Dude, your mic is dead. I don't know why I can't hear you.
How about now?
Perfect.
There we go. Yeah, I was going to say, and I like talking about this stuff. It's kind of fascinating to study in that, but I don't really care, and I'm not going to try to save the world. Leave that to the tradcons. Which, by the way, if they want to save the world, why are they not trying to help this disenfranchised set of men?
I mean, the thing is, so how do you convert people? How do you convert guys? Look at most religions. You know what they use to convert men? Women. Very simple. Hey, come into our group. We will pray this particular way, and we'll get you a nice wife, and she'll have your kids.
Dude, that makes sense, because the one thing I know, like, about the Mormons is they always brag about how their girls don't eat sugar or caffeine, and they always look hot. And it's never overtly stated, but it always felt like a bit of a selling point. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. If you look at, the real conservative or Orthodox Jews, when they try to convert you, which they really don't, but it's usually that. It's usually, hey, come meet these girls. If you look at, if you're ever new in town somewhere or just hit up a church, okay? And pretend you're single and, hey, I want to check out your church. See how quickly the conversation turns to eligible females. Now, it may be single moms at this point, but just bear with me. It's still
work with what you got.
right. It's still, hey, we can take care of you. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, whatever.
Dude, that's kind of curious. I'm curious. Anybody in the States, let me know in the chat. I'd be curious to see how that works.
Because so I'm ethnically Jewish, right? So I'll go to a temple and they'll find out that I am single and I make money. Who?
Holy cow! That's a stereotype and a half.
Yeah, but the thing is, I have friends who are Muslim. I have friends who are Mormon, whatever else, and the same thing happens. A little bit of status, a little bit of a little bit of maturity to you. They see that you're well put together. They see that you're not a schmuck. They see that you're socially apt, or at least pretend. And they can't make it happen, but they will definitely put you and the girls in the same space.
God, you know what that reminds me of? It's like when you're trying to breed animals on a farm. You just put them in the same cage and hope for the best.
Jeez. Exactly. And they will routinely do this where there'll be like 1 or 2 guys and 7 or 8 girls.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Maybe something happens and maybe it doesn't, but it still happens. It's still set up.
Dude, that's actually interesting as hell. So I guess and that's how you can't get guys to black pill themselves. Also, the frame part of that bugs me too. Do you notice everybody rags on red pilled guys over everything, but everybody seems to have just made themselves a different color pill. So there is no frame. It's all in relation to us. And I don't mean us like an identity, but it just makes me laugh.
Right. And the thing is, so they're like, black pill, purple pill, magenta pill, whatever the fuck pill. It's, so I guess we, quote unquote, took it from the Matrix movie.
Yeah.
But, that kind of thing where, one way is lies and one way is reality, that's a cultural meme throughout. So they're literally putting themselves in our frame when they talk about pills or whenever they talk about, alpha, beta and all that stuff. Or maybe we should say, that they put themselves in Rollo's pill or in Rollo's frame. Right.
I guess.
Because, I think he was the first one to come up with, like, most of the terms.
Well, it depends. Like, Hawaiian Libertarian, Keone Galt, he's the one that did the actual red-pilled name. He did that in 2008. And it's weird to go through the blogs. You'll see, like, it was really cool back then because they didn't have, Twitter. Or not to the extent they have now. So Royce would write something, and then Roosh would ping off of it, and Rollo would ping off a hit. And it's very hard to get the timelines together. They just kind of, everybody would expand on everything. It's kind of like now how all of a sudden Elon Musk makes a tweet about something and every brand influencer is salivating over it, hoping to get their own hot take on it.
Right. So
except for back then, guys were just actually getting laid. So
right. I was just kind of thinking about this. Like, if you look at those of that group of people, like the originals or the original or our class, let's say, of MRPs, right? Mm-hmm. Who made it? People who didn't get autistic about any one thing.
Actually, that's a really good point.
You just need to be a well put together, well dressed, reasonable shaped dude. You don't need to have 9% body fat. Helps, but you may not need it. You don't need to be making 6 figures. You just need to be comfortable.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that. Some guys would actively go against it. Like Bogey, he started doing powerlifting. He just I'm never going to be the thin guy, so I'm just going to be strong as hell. And he just went that route. Didn't hurt him a lick. Right,
and that's the thing. Like, he picked the thing that he could maximize in his world.
Mm-hmm.
And that works. And he would slam on me for having small lifts or whatever else. I'm like, yeah, okay. But again, you're fucking single moms and I'm fucking 25-year-olds. So, okay.
I still remember that post he had where he complained that he was getting too many blowjobs. The absolute ribbing he got in that one. You poor baby.
And the thing is, years later, I honestly, I understand that. There's a point when it's just too much.
That's even the funnier part, is that it's a real gripe. Guys, dude, I love. Okay, who else was there? There was the Litz. I loved his because his was just.
Yeah.
It was like a dry C-SPAN, like just for 2 years. It was work this week, build this week. No bravado, no giant events. It was just slow and steady.
So him, I loved. My earlier stuff was, I think I got banned by Wine More Please. Like my first or second post. It was beautiful. I remember being so hurt by it. And I get all that stuff now. Like, that's why, like, my last thing I commented on Ask MRP was like, do you know what frame is, or do you have any frame? And I got downvoted. And Winemore is like, yeah, this is the only correct answer here. The guy was asking about anger. And when is it good to have anger? I'm like, I don't know. You're allowed to experience your emotions, but what you do with that is different than what you experience internally.
Right.
So people will say, oh, if you you can't show a girl that you really like her. I mean, you can, you just can't salivate all over her all the time.
Yeah, well, there's that calibration part of it. You're 100%.
Right.
Like the vulnerability thing, don't do it from a position of weakness, but then you got to ask yourself, like, why do you need that source of validation that you want to be vulnerable to that person?
So here's the thing. Guys don't understand what girls mean when they say they want you to be vulnerable. They don't. So women in general, imagine having the biology that once a month like fucks you up, right? Completely messes you up internally. And then imagine on top of that, not having like the physical strength to compete out there doing things. On top of that, imagine the biology that sidelines you for 9 months may kill you if you let the wrong dude in. Okay? So they live in a lot of fear all the time, whether they acknowledge it or not, okay? So there's that fear. Now, they have this guy, and they're like, I want you to be vulnerable with me. Why? Because they want to feel like you understand their vulnerability. They don't want to know that you feel like you can't keep up. They don't want to know that you're struggling at your job. They don't. They want to know that, yes, you feel stress, but you have a plan. Yes, you feel badly about this or that, but you can deal with it in XYZ way. So until you have a solution that has worked out for you, you can't open up the same way that you would to your buddy having a beer.
Right. Yeah, because they don't need that from you. That's just a female thing.
Right. What they need is to feel like you understand them, you understand where they're coming from, and that, maybe you'll take their opinion into consideration because you're a good and generous God.
That reminds me, there's a Jack Ten of Hearts post. You might even remember this one. It was like 3-4 years back. He kind of did that, and he did a really good explanation that resonated with guys who are completely autistic. He suggested, picture a company that's got to do some layoffs, and your manager comes to you and like he has a bunch of different responses. Everybody's obviously stressed out. Am I going to lose my job? And the boss is like, great, now we're losing all these people, and I can't meet my quarterly things. He just complains about it. That comes off as tone deaf, as if he doesn't understand what the hell his employees are going through. Or the other guy is like, well, now he's so worried and stressed about losing his job that everybody else has no confidence in him as a manager. And then the third example he used was, look, guys, I know this is a stressful time, super stressful. You might lose your job. You might not. If you're going to go look for another job right now, I understand. Just let me know. I'll write you a letter. But if you stick around, I'll make sure I fight for you. And it was like the perfect example of what it's meant. Like you said, when they asked you to be vulnerable, they just kind of want reassurances or to reflect that their vulnerabilities are real and that you understand them.
Right. So that's like the perfect example. And think about that, how that applies to being able to walk away from anything, whether it's a job or a relationship. Hey, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. This is what's going on. I understand if you don't want to be here with me, but I'd love to have you. But if not, okay, that's fine too.
Yeah, of course. I was thinking too. And then there's always the question, like, do you even want to pass those comfort tests, that need for it? Because let's face it, at the last bit of it there, your wife was probably given that same thing and you just weren't having it at that point.
Oh God. So that crap. So the story of my wife. Hold on. So the one thing I still do that is bad is I still smoke. So I'm gonna do that for a second and tell you about my wife. Okay. She was the quintessential beta comfort girl. Okay. But she didn't provide anything out of that beta comfort. So I would comfort her. I would make sure she felt better, and I would believe that she knew what she needed to feel better. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. They don't know what the hell they need to feel better. If you think about it, they want to feel special. Okay? I mean, everybody wants to feel special. But how do you feel special? You go out and you do things that nobody else can. And when you can't do that, you say, oh, he didn't make me feel special. He didn't make me feel sexy, etc.
Right.
You know, think a girl's outfit can make her feel sexy, right?
Right.
Do you need an outfit to feel sexy?
God, no.
Exactly. So women tend to, and this is not a fault, it's a feature, okay? They need to have external sources that make them feel good, because they often don't feel good about themselves because they do know all of their own problems. They know they're bitchy. You know, my girl now, she'll be like, hey, I can come over, but I'm not exactly a rain of sunshine. And, you know, my response will be, well, come over and, you know, I'll make sure you get everything you need. Wink, wink.
I like that.
That's
Instantly
it.
to make it sexual. At least there you got your eye on the prize.
Right. And the thing is, they want to feel wanted, right? And so you spend a couple of minutes talking to them, let them ventilate about their day or whatever else, about Karen in the office being a complete bitch or whatever else. You pat them on the head, you give them a kiss, and you take them to the bedroom and you make them forget all that crap.
Memory's a goldfish, I'm telling you. They got the memory of a goldfish.
Right. And that's a feature. It's evolution. You know, like guys, realistically, we can love one woman or all of our lives, but like maybe want to fuck more than one. Women can't. So they need to, you as the guy who wants to be in a long-term relationship, marriage, whatever, kind of need to reinvent different aspects of yourself a little bit. Just, I mean, for your own sake, you should do that, but that's how you also keep her excited about you.
Yep. Yeah, I kind of like it when you say it's a feature, because it's like there's always incentives for a guy to be more, to be better, to just change things up. Because I mean, if you're doing the same thing for 80 years, it's got to get boring after a while.
Right.
And like I said, sex, it's a strong motivator. It's like not starving. It's one of those things that's always going to be there. It's always been there. So you can easily use that. And that's like I think you were starting a side business yourself. You probably wouldn't have done it. Your job is great as it is, but that constant need of growth and reinvention and diversity. I don't know if it would be, I would have the same incentive to have that if there was just like no pink light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean?
Right. So, you know, I think we talked about this. The reason I didn't go through with the side business is because I wasn't hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I just really wasn't hungry, and I'm still not hungry for that. One thing that I realized as I've gotten a little bit older and a little bit of a bigger notch count and all that stuff is I don't care about the sex, for instance, and I don't care about the money. When you have money, you don't care about the money. When you have sex, you don't care about the sex. Okay, when you have a good job, you don't care about the job. You want something more, right? So for me, I know that most girls are shit in bed, okay? Right? For one of my orgasms, I can give her 3 or 4 at least. And so basically, me sleeping with her is a gift to her.
It's a great attitude to have
to look at it. If I have a lot of friends now who are in their early 20s because of the jiu-jitsu thing that I do, and they complain about this stuff all the time. Like, this girl will just lay there, and she's hot, but like, what the hell? Guys want women to put some effort in, and women bought in on the lie that just being there is enough, and it's not.
Yeah, speaking of which, guys, it's not just enough for you to be here too. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. You know what to do. There's only 40 likes, 150 people here right now. That tells me 2/3 of you are breaking my heart. You're breaking it, man.
Oh man, you should definitely leave this relationship.
That's it. I'm out of here. I'm starting my own Let's Play channel. We're gonna start with Minecraft Let's Plays. 10-hour stream on how to keep your wife around.
So funny thing, we're talking, I guess, in this sphere and kind of everywhere, people are talking about this OnlyFans stuff and all that crap. I know guys who are starting their own OnlyFans accounts.
Like for them?
Yeah, men.
Really? Men. Are we talking gay for play, or is this like straight up hetero?
No, women, or with their partner. I know a couple of good-looking, well put together black gentlemen, let's put it that way, who are literally making a lot of money, or a good amount of money, fucking their wives on camera.
Really?
Yep.
That's absolutely fascinating.
Dude, cuck porn is fucking real.
But is that though? That's just voyeur. Or other people's wives, you mean? Their wives or other people's wives? Well, no, it's usually their partner, whatever it is, wife, girlfriend, whatever it is. Half the time she's white. And the guys paying to see this are white dudes. Oh, I get it. So it's playing into the fantasy, like this is your wife.
Correct. And I don't get it because, like, if I saw somebody screwing a girl that I wanted to screw, I would never want to sleep with her again, but whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, man, that's like I wonder if Tate's course talks about that, because that'd be absolutely fascinating.
I thought about paying for his stuff, but then I, listened to him, and he may know what he's doing, but he banks too much on having been a fighter.
Oh, yeah?
So, I know fighters, right? And maybe I don't know his league of fighters, but I know a lot of up-and-coming guys. Mm-hmm. And those guys are 90% insecure about something.
Really?
A lot of those guys. Like, no joke. If I was going to put together a pickup course or anything like that, it would be aimed at young, fit guys who literally don't know how to talk to girls.
Which is crazy because, like I said, we just had 8th conversation on Rule 0 about the looks versus money versus game. And I'm in the camp that game is like the underlying structure that gives it all longevity, because your looks fade over time. Money comes, money goes. But like, I've just seen way too many guys in their 50s and their 60s doing really well. And the only thing that they have at like a top level is good game.
Right. So what is game? Game isn't not pickup. Game is being socially adept, reading the body languages, reading the signs, and knowing how to make conversations slightly sexual. That's it. You make every conversation slightly sexual. You flirt with everybody. Mm-hmm. Listen, I'll flirt with the older woman at work, the older married woman. Why? Because it's fun and they know how.
Yeah.
They know how to play the game.
Plus,
so
it's
then
good too. It takes a lot of pressure off. If you're still, for the most part, not every married woman cheats. A lot do, but not most. I don't know. I don't even want to do with the odds, but let's just say that. So it takes a lot of the pressure off, especially if you're new, where you can flirt with somebody. It's like flirting with an old lady. You just know it's like harmless fun and good practice.
Exactly, and it's all it should be, and once you do that as part of who you are, as part of your frame, it no longer it's no longer about getting laid. It's now about having a good time.
Yeah, it's the chase.
Right.
Love the chase.
Honestly, I enjoy getting the girl into bed much more than I enjoy betting them.
I want to disagree, but I can't, because I've said the similar things. Like, that was probably one of the reasons that I kind of lost interest in it once I hit like 30. Because you're right, like the stories and the chase was so much more fun. Even when I got shot down, it ended up being more fun than having somebody like really lame in the bedroom with you, and most are. And I know SD, our one girl in the chat here, she says, "I get it. We're gonna suck. Teach us." I guess that's the thing. Teaching.
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Let me read this. I get that I'm going to suck in bed. Arm being with a woman who's not active. They don't want to train us. I fear getting hit. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so for the girls out there, it's not about technique for you, mostly. That you can figure out with time. It's about enthusiasm. It's about showing that you want to. If I wanted the best physical experience out there, I'd just go get a high price escort probably. I don't know.
I always wondered that. Do escorts, like, do they put in the manufactured enthusiasm, or are they just phoning it in? Or does it depend on the girl?
I've never done it. But I would say that, they have the training, hopefully, to give you a good time, give you a good show, have the technique to do it, right? But that's not the point for most guys. Most guys, honestly, like you and I both know, we can get ourselves off much quicker and more efficiently than any female can. Okay.
No idea what you're talking about.
Right. But the fun part is seeing her reaction to you. The fun part is getting her to ask, for your whatever and her whatever.
Yeah, okay? It's got like a conquering feel to it.
Right. The fun part is that conquering thing. The sex itself is great, like, don't get me wrong, but that's not the part that at least I find the most pleasurable. That's part of the reason that I play games with girls, that I will play the sub-dom game, that I will... Remember my post about the knife?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a bit... wasn't my thing. Good for you.
But that's the point. It wasn't really my thing either. It's what I had handy, kind of.
Right.
I had a giant hilt there that was ribbed, and I could use that, and I could, maybe tie her up a little bit. And I don't tie them up like so that where they can't move. You just give them the impression that there's a little bit of control.
Right.
And you say that's the whole Devi thing. You put them in a different headspace.
Dude, I love that you brought up Devi. I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised in that it should be there. Nobody in any of these spaces that talk about relationships at all ever bring it up. And it's probably the most important thing for a guy in a relationship when it comes to having one long-term that's healthy. Like every brand, I see a lot of guys, they'll focus on one. They'll always be like, it's all about the emotion, or it's all about the variety. But nobody ever thinks that instead of having to be the super hardcore drug dealer that gets the emotions and the anxiety ramped up, or the guy who's constantly off traveling the world doing things and doing nothing but variety, you didn't think that if you just have moderate levels of all four, it would save you a hell of a lot of effort.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, it doesn't take much. Like, it's, she'll say something cheeky, you say something really much more cheeky right back, and then when she gets upset, you kiss her on the forehead.
Hey, manufactured outrage.
Right. I mean, so the other day she got in my car and wanted to hook up her phone to my car so she can play her music.
Hmm.
And I just kind of looked at her like, no, like this is my car. What are you talking about? And the thing is, like, did I mind? No, like I don't mind when she plays, but I was just, I was a complete asshole about it in the sense of I would smile and then I would say something like, it's a long walk back home, and I don't think Uber's, active right now.
Dude, that's what I love about those things, though, because it's like it's something you don't care about. A lot of guys, they get into fights and they care about something, and so they end up having that scarcity to it where you would never dare say it's my way or the highway or get out and walk home, or because they'd be worried about losing the girl, as opposed to this where it's something you don't care about. So as soon as you've had your fun, you're like, yeah, okay, we're done here. I don't really care. Put on some Britney Spears, or like in
Right,
your case, yeah, I'll put on Britney Spears, and like I didn't want to listen to your Megadeth crap anyway.
right. You're such a chick. All right. So you got a chat here.
Yeah,
Some
but it's
depends
good
on.
to know some escorts phone it in, some don't. Depends on the girl. Some let you do it raw, but most want protection. It all depends on how much they like you. This is fascinating to me. Mostly because, by the way,
Isn't
thank you, Harks, for the brutal honesty on that one. It's fascinating because that's the exact same situation that guys dating have to deal with.
so
Like, there's
here's
no professional standard.
right. Women are still women. They still will do more for the guys they find attractive. And even if you, I forget who was it. I think it was Jack or somebody who had a guy on, or maybe it was one of the guys who had a guy on who did sugar dating for a while,
Uh-huh.
just recently.
It's
And
probably John. He's the one who usually gets that kind of stuff.
I mean, and the thing is, you realize there's still women, they still want to be liked by a put together guy. It's not any different. So if your game happens to be money based, fine, that's what you want to do. If you have, I know guys who have so much money that relationships are scary to them because they think that the woman will just be in it for the money anyway, no matter what they do.
So
You
it's
know,
got that, at least it's honest and open feel to it.
right? But so they're like, well, fuck it. Like, why would I do that when I can just rent a girlfriend for a month or a week?
It's so weird though how you get to a point where a guy gets enough failures from the social circle around him to where he adopts that as his mental model. Arnold, quick thing here. Thank you for the €2 super chat. Running late. What did I miss? Dude, you have no idea. We've been talking about knives and escorts. Knives and escorts and leaving wives for younger women. Dude, this is the absolute worst misogyny ever.
So here's the thing, and I'm going to correct you on this. I didn't leave my wife for a younger woman. I left my wife because I didn't want to be with her anymore.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
But that's a key point for all these guys, as you never do it. Anything you do, you never do it for another woman. You never do it for another person. You do it for you because you want to live the life you want to live,
Right.
and they can either join you or fuck off.
But at the same time, too, this is the thing I think most people miss when they say about do it for yourself. They just assume that you have to, and here's your, like you said earlier, people take things and they bring it to autistic 12, where, yeah, you're doing things for you, but at the same time, you're also aware of enough of how these actions and will affect other people around you. So you have some idea the consequences that are coming from it, so you can calibrate it. So like, yeah, I'll do things because it's what I want to do, but I know some things I do are going to make me more attractive. Some things are going to make me less, depending on where I am. Do I want to have more attractive people around me? Do I want to sleep with girls? Then I'll kind of, okay, I'm doing this for me, but I want this goal. Like getting
Right.
laid on the regular is a great goal, and I'm doing that for me. So I'm going to act attractive. And then people twist that, then take it too far, as in, well, you're just doing this because you're what they call it, pussy begging. And I'm like, dude, like there's just no winning. So
Right.
like, why even bother? Why care? Do what you
So
do.
the theory of communication, right, says that whatever comes out of your mouth then has to get filtered through somebody else's perception.
Right.
So it's never what you said or did, it's what they think you said or did in the context of their own life. So if they want to take something you said as negative, that's on them. If they want to take some advice that you give as misogynistic, that's on them. That's their reality, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Too bad for them. I mean, then they don't get to play with me.
Well, that's the thing I was thinking then, because there's bunches of groups of people. There's that angry feminist type that everything is about misogyny and power. There's the angry black pill type, which is everything is about genetics and woe is me. And then there's like attractive people. And every one of those groups will interpret the things we just said here in a completely different way.
Correct. And then there's the people
but then I know the ones that I would prefer to have will interpret it a certain way. And so I just go with that and just ignore the rest.
Correct. So, people have a lot of their own trauma in their lives, whatever it is, childhood trauma, this, that, the other. So they will take you, they may like you because you remind them of something positive or remind them of something negative.
Right.
You can't control that. What you can control is how you present yourself and how the majority of people will take you.
Ooh, look at you playing the averages. I like it. Quick break, though, before you carry on it. I'll put a pin in it. Sam Whiskey, thank you for the $5 super chat.
Hold on one second.
Yep. Women are more feminine, especially during Navy Week. It's called Fleet Week, and yes, they are. It's the weirdest situation. If you guys have ever been down to a San Francisco or a San Diego Fleet Week, just thousands of guys pretending they're Maverick off a Top Gun, and thousands of girls who are like, all of a sudden, they're like, oh, my uncle's third cousin was a sailor. Oh, that's awesome. And then there's always the one group of firefighters that show up in uniform just to try and get in on that stuff. Yeah, always funny. It's the one thing I miss about the service was Fleet Week.
So speaking of Navy Week, I grew up in New York, right?
Okay.
And I remember taking a girl out just during that week. Hold on, I'm sorry.
Are you gonna pull like the Dave Rubin where I got everything live taking a call with his kid?
Yeah, I was trying to let somebody into the house. Anyway, so I was taking this girl out, and she was like 5'10" or something. Played rugby in college. This was still while I was in college, and so we're walking down the street. There's my short ass holding hands with her, and these Navy guys in their dress whites, like all over the place, giving us like this weird ass look all the time. I remember sitting down in a bar and guys hitting on her, and she would just turn and say, I'm with him. And the looks on their faces were just like, what in the fuck? Pardon my French.
I got shot down by son of a.
Right. And the thing is, like, I wasn't even me back then, if that makes sense. Like, I was still the chubby little kid. So it just kind of like turned my mind into thinking, you know what, for every good looking guy out there, there is a lot of trauma that he doesn't know what to do with and he doesn't know how to deal with when it comes to talking with women or approaching women, because they'll say, oh, you need to have game and this and that. Yes, you need to have the ability to have a nice conversation and see where it goes and read the room a little bit. That's what game is. Game is like reading the room. You can have all the POA stuff you want. You can do the, the square. You can do the horse and the house and the tree. You can do all that stuff. And I actually did one of those, the horse, the tree, the windows.
The cube.
With a girl. And she looked at me. She played into it for like a few minutes. And then she just said, hey, I took a psych course too, right?
Oh yeah, they know. Here's my nuanced opinion on PUA. Like, I did it for a while. It's not a magic trick. It's not a parlor trick. It's just a structure. Because guys are starting with, okay, there's a girl, I want to talk to her. What do I do? And they literally have no concept of how to naturally draw a conversation into sleeping with a girl. So it gives you 3 phases, 3 sub phases. So you kind of know, okay, first thing I do is approach a girl in a way that makes her not seem like I'm creepy. And then the second way is, well, how do I build some rapport? How do I build comfort? How do I make it sexual? Like, when do you touch a girl's arm? All those questions that everybody like just didn't learn when they were kids. But it's one of those things. So once you do it and you get the thing down, you kind of start to realize, like, you'll get bored and I'm going to try not doing this, or I'm going to try adding this in, or I'm going to try screwing it up, because you always play a game with your buddies. Like, whoever gets shot down the best gets drinks paid for him for all night. So you actually go out with the attempt of getting shot down. And then you realize, like, it doesn't matter, but you kind of needed those training wheels to understand that. And that's the part I liked about it.
So, I think,
but yeah, they know it's a lie. Like, we'll say this in the cube though. Girls know you're making it up. They know you don't have a psychology friend. They know the horse doesn't mean this, that, or the other thing, but it's a game and it's fun and it's escapism. It's no different than watching reality TV. It's a fun experience. She's watching wrestling. She knows they don't really hate each other, but she still likes it.
Right. It's all it is a show. It's a sitcom. It's what's the channel that has Lifetime movies. It's a Lifetime movie. It's something she can sit down and be like, oh, well, this makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And so the one thing that I've learned that you can't ever do is show real insecurity.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with you there.
And so, like, girls will say, oh man, I hate it when guys, do this, do that, or just insecure. And so I'll ask, so what kind of stuff makes you feel that a guy is insecure? Well, he won't take his shirt off in bed. I'm like, why wouldn't he do that? Well, because he feels like he's fat. I'm like, okay, but you're already in bed with him. So what's the issue? Like, you already know that he's got a few extra pounds, right? She's like, yeah, I don't know, but that turns me off. She didn't get turned off by the fact that he was heavy. She already decided to sleep with him. She got turned off by the fact that he was embarrassed that he was heavy.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I wouldn't be surprised, too, that there's a lot of guys who have weird little insecurities like that, but play a tough guy on the internet.
Right. So, I mean, internet tough guys, like, and people will say, well, he didn't show his face, etc., etc. How do we know he's not like Ryan Gosling, just short, whatever else, right?
You don't.
Well, you don't. But at the same time, like, the whole height thing, people will say, oh, 6 foot, 6 figures, 6-pack, 12 inches. Somehow 12 is a good variation on 6. You don't need all of that stuff. You just need enough of it to some degree and not give a shit about the rest.
Oh. Yeah, like examples everywhere you look. Ugly guys are getting laid. Heavier people are getting laid. Yeah, they may not get laid as much as somebody who has all of his stuff together, but everybody's still in the game. Right. I would refuse to quit a game just because in a league of 100 guys, I score 50th.
Right.
The 50th guy is still getting some wins on the board.
Right. So I'm training in a room with a bunch of killers. Okay, every other day. These guys literally can kill me at their wish. Okay, they've all got at least 100 pounds on me of muscle. Why am I in there? Why am I competing with them? I'm not really competing with them. It's not really a competition. It's just fun, and I get a little bit better than I was yesterday. That's it.
Well, especially fighting better guys makes you better.
Right, and that's the thing with anything. It's, if you're not willing to compete against a situation that's hard, how are you going to get better at anything? So, like, for those black-pilled guys, like, they just want to play whatever video game they want to play on easy mode. Right, but that's boring.
Which is funny when you think about it, because if you're going to be a NEET and you're just going to play games all day, you figure it'd be something you'd be good at. But even that.
But that's the thing. They're jealous of the guys who, can walk into a room and girls like them based on what they look like. Mm-hmm. And I can't say I blame them for their jealousy, okay? But it's not the good-looking guy's fault. It's not the girl's fault. But it's on them to be part of the game so they can get whatever they can get out of it as well.
Yeah. And there's always going to be somebody behind you when you get any level of success. There's going to be somebody jealous of you, thinking you didn't have to fight for it and you didn't have to earn it either.
Right. And that's really real because At this point in my life, people are like, oh, well, you were always well off. No, no, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
I know what it's like not to have a car. I know what it's like not to have money for food, all that stuff. But I got through it. And yeah, maybe I was lucky to get through it, but I know I put in the work.
Yeah, and there's going to be guys who have it harder. There's going to be guys who have it better. It doesn't really matter. I'll do a quick segue. Sam Whiskey, thank you for the $2 super chat. Commission sales prepares you for rejection. I'll buy that. I think the only thing that's harder to get than pussy is money when it comes to taking it from people. I'll grant you there. Arnold, again, thanks. €5 super chat. Honestly, most women I work with and know aren't that feminized or entitled yet. In media, on the net, it seems way worse than it is. Or is that just me? Actually, that's a good question. Let's tackle this one. You take her first.
So, all media is a projection of their best camera angle that they wish they had all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, I'm gonna use the girl that I'm with now, sort of. She will put food pictures up and she will put like smiling pictures of herself and a little bit of makeup on. And they're never, they're always decent. They're never in booty shorts or whatever else. But that's not her life. I know because I know her what life looks like. And they are portraying the best product that they can. It's not different than going to a showroom, getting into a nice car that's been cleaned up and has 0 miles on it, and the leather isn't broken in yet or whatever else, and you just feel like, this is luxury, and then you drive it for a little bit and you realize it's not that great, but it's not bad. But that's all it is. It's just marketing. They're just marketing themselves for themselves, and the competition is other women.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I know Rollo talks a lot about the globalized marketplace, and this stuff is huge, and you have to have an Instagram. Most of the people I know, and most of the people I've talked to when I was working in the financial district, tons of corporate girls there, they aren't posting things in booty shorts. They're just consuming them. They're sitting there flicking through it. They still have their social medias where they put on their best face, but like you walk up to them, have a normal conversation, and that doesn't even factor in. I've never had anybody I've approached ask me about my Instagram until they find out that, who Rollo Tomasi is? You have an Instagram? What? I'm like, oh, Jesus. But yeah, it's like this game is played by such a small minority of people that the chances it will start to affect you on a real level on your sexual lifestyle or your dating or your relationships is so small. I think the worst you're going to get is most girls are going to feel insecure because everybody's hotter than them on Instagram. If anything, that works in your favor.
Right. And that, women are so insecure about themselves. They think that they need to have this perfect body, and honestly, they don't. And in fact, the girls that do have the perfect body look like crap because on Instagram, because they can't get the right angle sometimes for the picture.
There's even a TikTok going around for that. It's I'm really pretty until I smile. There's like hundreds of girls that just do this, and then they have like a horrible smile, makes them look ridiculous, gap teeth, whatever. I always thought that was kind of funny. Quick again to Sam. Thanks for the $2 super chat. Being overweight in China is a sign of wealth. I was gonna say China. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still pissed at China. I need to get a haircut, and I can't now because of China.
So maybe having more hair in China is a sign of wealth and prosperity. I don't know.
But I can see that. Like poorer countries, developing nations, obesity was seen as a sign of status because it was so hard to get there. But again, as you start developing more economic benefits, it starts to be seen as like a negative thing. It's always about whatever the majority of people are doing, and what's harder than that. That seems to be the flex.
Well, exactly. So right now in this country, or at least in the West, so US, Canada, all that stuff, it's really, really hard to not have food. Generally, yes, there are homeless people. Yes, there are hungry people. I get all that. But in general, it's really, really hard not to get a meal somehow. So the people who can flex are people who can control their diet, who don't have to eat, who don't have to eat all the time because they know that they will have food when they want it on demand and can, again, actually control what they consume rather than let that consume them.
100%. By the way, Chesty's in the chat. Look at this. We got all we're missing is like wine more, please, and we got the quartet again.
So I just saw that, and was it Chen who was an asshole?
Yeah.
Nice.
He's a product of the 80s. That's funny there. I don't think he understands like the crippling racism that they perceive it as now.
And you know what's beautiful is I don't think he cares, and neither should he.
No, nobody cares. Again, Oni Michael, T Michael, thank you for the £2 super chat. COVID pickup, is it possible without Tinder? I would say so. There was a rough patch right at the beginning when Karen was freaked out over everything, but like I go for runs now. I take the dogs out for a walk. We still do grocery shopping. There's people everywhere. A lot of chicks still not wearing masks. Like I don't see the difference. It's not like it's a deal breaker.
So I actually think it's an opportunity, right? If you're of the mindset that the masks don't matter or they're just a social flux or whatever else, you can instantly find women who are more or less like-minded or bond over that with them real quick. It's a conversation starter if you do
dude, that's a great conversation starter.
Hey, I like your mask, blah blah, or say, hey, yeah, so how's that going with wearing a mask all the time, or how you doing with breathing, or whatever else. Just talk.
Yeah. And people are bored. They love to talk, and if you get them to talk about themselves, they will thank you for it. Nobody ever asks them about themselves. It's just you having a genuine interest in seeing somebody. Hey, you don't wear a mask too? That's awesome. What was your decision? Do you believe in the lizard people or whatever you want to say? It doesn't really matter. Yeah,
and it's beautiful. It just gives you something else to talk about. Or if that mask is somehow color coded with the rest of their outfit, beautiful. You comment them on compliment them on it or something, just whatever it is.
Yeah, and I don't know how to teach a guy to do that. Like he has to learn it for himself. You can tell him to do it, but they won't do it. And if they do it, they're going to realize, oh my God, why wasn't I doing this earlier? What was I afraid of?
The way to teach somebody to do it, because I kind of had to teach myself to do it, was, first of all, you start off doing it with people you have no intention of sleeping with, or it's not on the thought, or you do it with other guys. You just have a conversation. That's all it is. All it is a social conversation. And if you wind up getting her number, you didn't get her number because you want to sleep with her. You got her number because you really had a good time talking to her. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the mindset.
Yeah, you got to lie to yourself a little bit to get what you want, but at the end it works. So whatever. At least somebody's lying to you for your own best interest for once.
Right. And even, like I'll talk to somebody who I have no interest in sleeping with because I want to talk to their friend as well. Sometimes that's what you do.
Yeah. 100%. And some of the best pivots I ever met, like were girls that I actually tried to run a pickup routine on and failed. But then we ended up being good friends. And at that point, we go to the bars together. They would help me pick up. It's absolutely awesome. And it's funny because you were ragging on the PUA stuff earlier, but that method you just talked about starting conversations, that's literally one of the ones from Mystery Method, what I use, where you said to beat that anxiety, just ask 50 people for the time and then try to hold a 5-minute conversation. But you practice it with everybody. And if you can't do it with girls, then just do it with guys or just do it with old ladies. And then you basically desensitize yourself to your neurotic anxiety to the point where you could walk up to a 10 out of 10 girl, ask her for the time, ask for a number, and then, nag her a bit and leave.
I mean, honestly, I wish that guys would getting laid out of their head a little bit, because that's literally getting in their way. They want that end result so bad that they can't enjoy the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like eating. If you're starving, all you can think about is food. But as soon as you have a sandwich, then you can stop thinking about food. Now you're thinking about cooking.
Well, I think I mentioned that with money, right? When you don't have money, everything is about money, money, money. When you don't have height, everything is about height, height, height. If you don't have A six pack, everything about a six pack. If you don't have a beard, everything is about how you can't grow a beard. If you're too Indian, oh my God, I'm too Indian. If you're too black, you're too black. If you're too white, you're too white. Whatever. Play the game.
Yeah.
It's like poker. Like, you can't control your hand, but you can control what the hell you do with it.
Well, that's a good point. Although that kind of sucks for me because I have horrible ADD. So in poker, I'll last about an hour. And then I just start going all in on stupid stuff, trying to bully people, and I always lose.
You and I should play. I always need more money.
Yeah, sure, why not? I'll just give you the money. We'll just do it like and then I can just not play cards. How about that?
That's fine. That's fine.
But no, it's good, and it resonates because we're seeing guys like Rugby. I met him back in Florida. Like, I've known him for years now, and he's had that same conversation where he struggled with it, and there's really no way around it. There's no magic words that can fix it. There's no way to convince a guy to it. And I'm going to swing this back to the beginning. You can't tell a guy to go be socially adept. He just has to go and screw it up for himself and then realize it's not that bad when you screw up. And then you kind of get hooked on it.
Right.
I think of beauty too to watch it happen.
And the thing is, again, it's whether it's social anxiety, whether it's anything else, it's you have to do the work. Shut up and do the work. Whether it's going to the gym, getting good at, getting the right camera angle for your food or editing that stuff, you have to just do it. That's it. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah. Hey, good example for you too. You guys, if you're bored, go watch my very first video on this channel where I cook Madeleines, and then watch my latest one, and you'll see what like a year of work can do. I know it's nothing to do with dating and that. It's just like cinematography and editing, but everything is like that. The amount of work you put in and your gap between your ability to your vision and your ability to implement your vision. And that's the same with girls. I want to get laid with hot girls all the time. That's going to be great. But your ability to implement that is horrible. But you really have to just like fight in the trenches, go screw it up 1,000 times. Do that for 12 months. I don't care how ham-fisted you do it, who you talk to, what you try. There's no way you're not going to look at yourself 12 months in the future, and that guy looks at you 12 months from the past and laughs at how much of a loser you used to be. It just doesn't happen.
I'm going to disagree on something you said.
Which
you
part?
said it didn't have anything to do with getting laid or getting girls, and it does. It's presentation. It's learning how to present something.
Oh, fair enough.
So at this point in my life, in my career, I can tell you when I see somebody for what I do, like I can tell you the 10 ways it's going to go based on, the next steps and what they say. I already know what the diagnosis is. I already know what they're going to do or not do. I already know what I'm going to tell them to do to help themselves. And I also kind of know what they're going to do and not going to do. Okay.
That's frustrating.
Practice. So you know what the girl is going to say almost exactly after, a couple of hundred approaches.
Yeah. And
you know that the worst she can do is say no. And then I think you did a video early on and you did a post on this, like, what is she going to do? Fight you?
Oh, yeah. I don't remember. I know I talk about it. I can't remember if it's a video now. They all kind of blend together. But yeah, once you realize, like, worst case scenario, she tries to fight you, you can put her down. Like, everything is going to be a better situation than that, and I can live with it.
Right. The thing is, like, okay, so she yells at you and embarrasses you. You look at her, shake your head, and walk away. Or she says, ew, don't want to talk to you. You can just say, hey, have a nice day. I'll smile and walk away.
Yeah.
Like why would you care if some human being who has, what does she have? Why did you approach her? You approach her because she looks good. Okay. That's it. That was mostly genetics and maybe some work on her part. But you don't know anything about her. You don't know anything about what she's done to deserve your time. You're approaching her based on what she looks like. Fine. At that point, anything she says is either negative value to her or positive value to her. It's not about you. It's not. She can reject. She's not rejecting you. She's rejecting herself from your attention.
Yep. And that's it. And I know it sounds cliched, but there's always another one. And I don't mean that because there's always another one. Just stick it out, and the right one. Like, no, it's not that. It's that there's 7 billion people on Earth, and even your city. My city was 300,000 people. Not a big one at all when I was there. Like there was always another one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know what's beautiful? And maybe I'll get tagged for saying something uncultured, but they keep turning 18 and 19 and 20 every year. It's wonderful how that happens.
Oh, dude, that was Matthew McConaughey's line. Like these high school I keep getting older and these girls keep staying the same age.
Exactly. It's like, I don't know how it happens, but it does. Like, I think that something about me gets me to the right mindset where, a girl in her mid-20s is what I get along with. Mm-hmm. A little bit younger than that, and I can't, handle the bullshit, and a little bit older than that, I can't handle the bullshit, but mid-20s is where I tend to be okay with.
That's old enough to be mature, but young enough not to be jaded.
Right. And so here's the other thing that people will get confused about or get, upset by. Well, she hoed around in college. Okay.
Yeah, so everybody hoes themselves out in college. And yeah, well, don't say so, because there is hundreds of hours of arguments why. They're talking about the genetics. They bring up that stupid fruit fly thing where they share the DNA from multiple partners. I'm with you, though. The reason that bothers guys, whether they'll admit it to themselves or not, is because that girl's notch count is higher than theirs.
Correct.
And so early on, I just had the approach that every girl I ever met and every girl I ever approached, I just assumed her notch count was twice that of mine.
Exactly. And so funny thing happened. Mine asked me my notch count. Right. And I looked at her and, she was in my lap, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, what do you think it is? And she gave me an astronomical high number for myself. And I just went, okay. Yeah, it's something like that. Now, and then I asked her, why do you think that is? And she was like, well, you're just really good with talking and blah, blah. She made up all these things about me, and we had hung out maybe 5 times.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing to do with you. It was all about her perception of you, your presentation.
Correct. Because if I had told her that my count was a lot lower than that, she would immediately be like, oh, well, why is that? Why is she attracted to a guy who doesn't have that level of game or that level of success?
And for you, it could be for some guys, it's a simple thing. I've been married for 10 years when I was 23 and now they're 33 and divorced. Of course they're going to have a notch count way lower.
Right. And so I forgot what I said, how I explained it, but I was just like, yeah, my notch count is up there. It's basically doubled in the last 3 years, and she will say things all the time like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm hanging out with my friend. Oh, you got your other bitches over there? Yep, that's what I do. I was literally having dinner with my friend she's female, but she's also 45 and dating one of the killers in the room. We're just friends.
Yeah. But you're not going to tell her that. She doesn't want to hear that. She wants, in her mind, she's pictured you as this prize that she's trying to steal from dat bitch.
Right.
And anything you say that counters that is, what's funny? That's the perfect way to explain the relationship strategy of fogging. The worst thing you could do is tell a girl that her intuition or her emotions are wrong.
Absolutely. And the thing is, even if they're wrong in a way that's negative to you, okay, so she's gonna slut shame you. Cool. Literally, that's why she's into you. Yeah. Or she's going to tell you that you're a hoe and you'll just sleep with anybody. Listen to what that tells her about her.
Oh, now you're hitting the perception is projection.
Exactly. So you just literally sitting there and watching her hamster herself about what she's doing. And if you can sit back and then just listen and put everything in context and take yourself out of it, you will have a much better experience and you will have a much better armament for your game with her.
Yeah, 100%. I can't remember who said it. I want to say it was Chesty, but everything a girl says comes from her ego. And as soon as you can accept that, it makes everything so much easier to understand. Even when she's yelling at you, you realize like this has got nothing to do with me.
Right.
She doesn't actually want me to do more dishes. She just wants me out of her face. But she wants the dishes done, so she's going to try and kill two birds with one stone.
And the thing is, why do women want you to do the dishes? It's not about the dishes. It's about putting in effort. So if you can put in effort, or if you can have her perceive that you are putting some effort into yourself and into her, it's not about the dishes.
Yeah.
It's just
well, Archbringer too. He had a great one on this that came from his relationship where he was talking about, it was either him or Ultimate Cat. I can't remember which, but it's not the difficulty of the task. It's the importance of the task.
Mm-hmm.
So like girls will put up with all kinds of drudgery, but like if it comes to paying a bill, where if you don't pay the bill, the power goes off and then somebody is wrong, and girls hate being wrong and they don't want to make that kind of decision. So it's not my fault. So like paying a bill could be seen as higher value in a girl's eyes than you sitting there and doing 20 hours of dishes. That's an extreme example, but it kind of illustrates the point well enough.
And the thing is, again, it's not about dishes. It's about presentation sometimes. Sometimes it's about, my girl will come over and make my bed. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I've never really cared about, I don't care one way or the other. It doesn't register to me.
Yeah.
But she will do it once we're done with the bed, and she will do it. And I don't mind it. And I let her do it because that is something she's doing for me, but it's also for herself.
Yeah. It's mostly for herself. I'm surprised most guys don't understand that when a girl is pampering you, that actually makes her feel good.
Right. She can now say that she is bringing something into the relationship.
Yeah.
Because so she'll come over and she'll cook and whatever else, and I'll just sit there, watch her cook, and it's great. But she's not cooking for me. She is cooking to help herself know that she brought something to the relationship besides her vagina.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you going to the gym or you earning money. It's always you want to bring something more to the table when you're interacting with somebody. Except for us, it's kind of for ourselves. But for girls, it's for that external validation, which not a bug, it's a feature. If nobody ever needed external validation, then nobody would get together. So you need one dependent and one narcissist. Healthy levels of both.
And it doesn't have to be 100% one person or the other in everything all the time, right?
Right.
So I'm fine with how I talk about being, the dominant one in bed or whatever else. This girl, she likes to be the one that puts me down and do her thing. Yeah. Cool. I'm not going to get butthurt about it. And she likes that I'm not butthurt about it because that makes her feel like she is with a guy who can, quote unquote, handle her.
Now that's a level of empowered I can get behind. Well, this is going to suck now because you just completely ruined that Rivlino's guy's business model of his never go down, never lean in, never do anything that could possibly make you look weak. And here's the lines and the mathematics to prove it.
He has never topped from the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you said, it was your perfect example with the t-shirt, the guy in t-shirt at bed. If you're sitting there so insecure that you have to focus on not leaning in or only leaning in or never going down or going down like that, it screams out. You may not know you're communicating it, but girls are good at body language. They will pick that out in a heartbeat. They won't know what it is, but something about this guy is creeping the hell out of me.
Right.
And even though you're doing all the alpha guys don't lean in, that's fine. But just by you structuring your life with that cringing insecurity, it actually sabotages you more than anything.
Absolutely. So again, we've talked about this. I have certain insecurities about my height, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But these girls that like me will conform their body and their position to make themselves feel small and protected with me. They will, sit on my lap. They will, in bed scooch down so that their head is on my shoulder, all that.
Yeah, they will crawl through broken glass if she's into the guy.
Right. That's it. And It's presentation and game is presentation. Game is money. Game is everything else. Like, game is just your ability to control the world around you.
Mm-hmm. Game and frame. It's the name of the game. Oh, that was not well put together sentence at all.
So I had this comment a while ago about armor, right?
Right.
And I'm going to go into that for a second. So when you think about a tank, all a tank is a bunch of armor around a big gun, right? So that's why they even call it's the armored core. Okay. Right. Your frame has to be not just your armor, but it is who you are. It's what you believe yourself to be. So I don't think you can have a frame. You always have some sort of frame. Your frame may be shit, but it is what it is. So if you can project your own view on the world to other people, that's having good frame.
It's having great frame.
Right. And everybody else can either get behind you or can get crushed because you're a tank.
Yeah, the walk. Maybe not even crushed, but just walk away. Like they just they don't become a part of that world.
Absolutely. Like my world is some place that is earned. You have to earn your spot to be next to me.
And you should have that attitude too, because you worked for it. You earned it. You built this thing, so you're going to put a value on it. And if you don't value it, nobody else is going to value it either.
Correct. And the thing is, that perception has nothing to do with what I've done or haven't done before. It's not my money. It's not my training. It's nothing else. It's how I flipped that switch. So you can be a broke, a 22-year-old college kid or 20-year-old college kid and still have that frame of mind. Mm-hmm. I'm going places. You can either join me or get off the boat.
Well, I think that was Wine More Please's thing. He was like, I think it was 22, 23, something like that. And he was like the typical insecure guy. And then one day, I can't remember, he brings it up all the time. Not recently, though, where some girl kind of called him out on it. He did a bunch of soul searching and then finally had that attitude. The fact that he caught it on so young was amazing.
Right.
But then ever since that day, he always came across as a giant ass, and he still does. But it's never failed him.
Right. So there's somebody in the comments that said, coming over and making your bed, you can get BJ better than or easier than that. I mean, that was before and after, so I don't know what to tell you.
There we go. Yeah, sorry, I had to do some quick moderation now. Rugby's doing some good work in there. This one guy is just spouting off some of the ridiculousest stuff ever. I don't think you want to be on this channel, man. No offense, but the stuff you're ranting about is just ridiculous. Where were we? Leaving off there. Yeah, frame is all, game is good. That matters more. I guess we kind of hit up all the main topics, unless there's something to expand. I wouldn't mind just shooting the shit with you because we haven't talked in a while.
I mean, so the topics are all, that we can work through any guy's detailed situation. But most of it comes down to your perception of self, your perception of what you value yourself as and your time as, and everything else is just comes out of that.
Oh, it's like the Ultimate CAD reference that anything outside of your frame is either intriguing, amusing, or funny.
Exactly. Like, if I can't take something that doesn't match my reality seriously, why would I do that?
Mm-hmm. And that's true. That's why I don't think you'll ever see me have a debate, and God bless John for doing it. I'll never come on here and debate some black-pilled guy over who's right and who's wrong. So I don't really care. I'll just take one look at those guys. Guys sent me last night, I guess there's a video where they have like a testicular cancer meeting over how bad we all are. 10 seconds, I'm like, don't ever send me this stuff again. These guys are ridiculous. Like, why would you debate somebody over your life when it's working for you? Like, do you need that validation?
Well, think about what them trying to debate you is. They're trying to prove, in theory, that your practical experience is wrong.
Yeah. Or not even that I'm a bad person. I find a lot of guys are falling for that, like, second wave feminism attitude where whoever gets the moral high ground, whoever's the better person automatically wins the argument. And that I find is even worse.
Well,
Because at
now
least
I
trying
know
to
why
prove me wrong is like a manlier thing to do.
I mean, now I understand why they're going their own way because they can literally have sex with their own vagina.
Oh, you're gonna need stitches to cover up that cut.
I mean,
Dude, too
luckily
funny.
enough, I can provide the stitches too. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Plus, there's a part of me too on this that I don't want to get, and I love having you guys around, like you, Bogey D6, Yui McGill, Scorchzang, Cholomite, Wine More Please, because there's a part of me that knows if I kind of start listening to the crowd and doing 5 reasons this alpha male will alpha you, 3 is never going to surprise you, I just know you guys would pretty much like ride my ass. And it's nice to have that because it's really easy to get sucked into this stuff.
I mean, so you got to make content that sells at the end of the day, right? So maybe you need to do some of that stuff, just not as autistic as the 5 secrets to alpha males. Like there's one secret, like have your shit together and have confidence in your own abilities. That's it.
Yeah. That's all there is to it. Thanks. Hit that like, smash the subscribe button. I'll see you on the next one. Booyah! All super animated. Yeah, I see it. Honestly, I'm trying to take the approach on this one. I guess channel thing here, but so there's always that you want to give guys red meat topics they're looking up, and guys are looking up unattractive topics. So I'm like, that's not helping. It's kind of hurting. So how do I square that circle? And my thought is playing with the presentation. And I know this sounds weird, but like if I can jingle keys in front of a guy's head, then give him something that's somewhat useful, I think, and time will tell if that's a better approach than the 5 alpha male top list things. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. We'll find out.
So, what's his name? The car guy, entrepreneurs with
Rich.
cars and cars, right? He dunked on my new car. Like he dunked on it hard.
Oh yeah. I had to ask him too. Like, I don't know cars. Is this good?
And the thing is, I kind of felt that for a second. Then I was like, wait a minute. You know what? 1, he makes a shit ton more money than me. 2, he actually likes cars that are not really comfortable to drive in. And my point there is everybody is going to dunk on you for some preference you have. Mm-hmm. If you like Britney Spears, great. That's not feminine to like X or Y or Z. It's the rest of your life and the context that surrounds it that makes a decision or a hobby masculine or feminine. Like people will say, oh, well, what's a masculine hobby to have? Like you gotta go out in the woods and chop wood and build a house and wrestle a bear and like all that crap. And I'm just like, nah, you know what? I'm not even gonna do my own home improvements. You know why? Because that's not how I value my time and money. That's not the skill set I have. I'd rather go out and do my job for a day, make that $2,000 or whatever it is a day, and have somebody else be on their knees putting in a floor.
Well, dude, it's funny you mentioned that. So when I got my short posting after being posted to the ship for 4 years, whatever, I was there with a bunch of guys, and we all like talk because we're on 12-hour midnight shifts at the radio station, and it turns out 5 of us out of the 12-man group there had gardening as our hobby. And it was one of the guys had to point out how ridiculously like homoerotic this whole thing is. We're like, dude, we have been working our butts off for the last 4 years, stressed to the gills. This is like the calming thing to have your Zen garden out on your patio and to like tinker with it. And it's like, that's an old lady hobby, but here's 5 grown sailors just got back from fighting pirates in the Middle East. And we're all like, yeah, how are your orchids doing? Funniest conversation ever.
Right.
By the way, I had a huge slug problem. It was killing my orchids. I had to go to war.
And that's the most masculine conversation you can ever have because you're so comfortable with who you are that you don't care if you like dressing up like a Barbie. Like it doesn't matter. Guys who have feminine hobbies, as long as they have a masculine mindset, will put a masculine spin on that feminine hobby.
I can see that. Here's my question though. Those real dolls. I don't know how to fit those into there. Although I guess I haven't seen a masculine guy want or need one yet, so that's probably why they'll never be seen that way.
Oh, you're talking about the sex dolls?
Yeah, those things.
Those are maximum. What's the expression? Maximum cope.
Yeah, maximum cope. Uncanny Valley, maximum cope.
And the thing is, like, I know, people will say, well, that's gay, this is gay, blah, blah. I know gay men who are far more masculine than a lot of these straight guys who are afraid of their hobbies.
Oh, most
You
of them
know?
are. Oh, it's best thing ever too, because they'll call them out and they'll drop an F bomb on them. But when a gay guy calls you a bundle of sticks, there is nothing you can counter that with. That's just a burn, and you have to sit there with your tail between the legs and take it. My boss used to do that all the time. It was the greatest joy in my life was to watch him do it.
So one of the guys I used to work with, he was the closest thing I had to a boss at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Him and his husband had a business selling flowers at weddings and all that kind of stuff. They would make your wedding look pretty and all that.
Nice.
Their house was the most put together, nice house out there. And nobody would ever think of these guys as not manly, even though they were both flaming. I mean, they were flaming homosexual guys, but they were the most manly thing out there. So, like, you come to their house, they give you a hug, whatever else, and there's nothing like that makes you less of a man because of your sexual orientation. And there's guys who like can't get their head around that, like, oh, that's gay and blah blah blah. No.
No, but I don't even think, because I'm from like the 90s, 2000s, so gay for us wasn't a word that had meant homosexual. It just meant something lame. I don't think a lot of guys understand the difference either.
Right. There was somebody who said, and I forget where it was, is like, this guy's homosexual, but you're a faggot.
I like that. Oh, dude, Chesty and Rugby are doing work in the chat right now. I guess a bunch of those dudes from that, testicular cancer meeting. I want to make this official policy for the channel, by the way. Thank you, Chesty. Black Pill and MGTOW, shoot on sight. Useless waste of time. Dudes, yeah. Curvy put it perfect. I'm not here to recruit. He's not here to recruit. We don't need your money. We don't want your money. You're here if you want to learn, and we're here to provide that stuff. And if you don't want it, that's fine. You can either quietly watch and seethe on your own, or you can just not watch and have some frame. Like, go your own way. I'm fine with that. It'll be cool.
Let me chime in on this going your own way thing. How are you going your own way if all of your attention is on how other guys are doing okay?
What was the word you used? Maxed cope?
Max cope, I think. Right. Like, that's not go. If I was gonna go my own way, then I would not be involved in this community at all. It would not be on my Twitter. It would not be on my Reddit. That's not something that I would put my time into.
Yeah, you would probably have one of those travel Instagram pages where it's always you in fancy countries sitting
Correct.
on boats.
It would be a nice car. Maybe I'd go to Bulgaria, rent a girl, have her wash my car, and put it on Twitter. Like, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing too. Like with Twitter, there's a certain flex to it. And I get that's just kind of a thing right now. It's almost outside of having frame or not having frame or needing validation. But everybody still flexes on Twitter. Like, I'm doing it for business purposes, but I see people doing it otherwise. I wonder if it's the kind of thing that's actually eroding frame in general. Just having this ability to flex so easily and get validation. Because, I mean, back in the day, you only knew like 20 people. And if you bragged about that same story enough, people were tired of hearing it. So you just stopped doing it. It kind of kept you on the straight and narrow. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So I'm going to tell you this story I read. It was about these Instagram models who are, have no real income, but are on yachts all the time and all that stuff. And somebody did an interview with them, went in depth as to how they do this, how they afford it, what's going on. So apparently these guys from like the Middle East or something are literally paying them to shit on them. Like they're paying these models to take a dump on the model. They're going to finance the trip. They're going to let them take a few pictures on their yacht or off their high rise apartment somewhere. Meanwhile, these girls just had some dude take a dump on their face.
Yeah. And I don't know whether to be impressed or pitiful. Like, yeah, why would you do that to yourself? That's so pitiful. But then you think of like, what are you willing to do to get a taste of success? And she literally can say, I'll take a dump on my chest to succeed. So she knows herself probably more than half the guys out there.
I mean, I guess it's a lot easier than like, studying a few hours a day.
It's true.
You know? And honestly, like, sometimes I feel real bad for some of these high achieving women. Like I know plenty, and they have a hard time because they're given this message that they have to do the work and they have to compete with people who don't have to biologically take as much of an investment if they want to have a child. Okay, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So they have to compete with that, and then they're not happy because they get the message of, well, either you're a good in your field, or you're a good wife, or you're a good LTR, and you can be the best at everything. And like, no, you really can't be the best at everything.
Yeah, you can have anything, but you can't have everything.
Right. You can be a good enough spouse and mother, and you can be a good enough professional, but you can't necessarily be the CEO and super mom and all this stuff. There's not enough hours in the day. There's not enough emotional energy in the day. And they're burning themselves out trying to chase that. And I see that all the time. And I see, if you're going to talk about my demographic of dating is professional girls just starting out their careers.
Oh, the tired eye girls. I live and worked right around them, and that tired eye thing, they all have it.
Right. And they, one of the reasons I think they are attracted to me is because I understand that problem, but I'm not going to fix it for them. I'm just going to hug them and take them out of that headspace for a couple hours.
Well, look at you. That's nice. You're making it sound like you're the geisha girl for men. You know what I mean? They weren't about the sex. It was all about the girlfriend experience. You're the perfect boyfriend / father I never had experience for these girls.
Call me daddy. What can I tell
you? All right. So we're at hour 46. So I'm going to stop it at this hour 2. So we can still go on for a little bit here. Guys, smash the like button. Right now, I can't believe how many of you guys are still up on a Sunday morning. It's good you're not getting hammered at the bars right now, but I just hope you had a morning romp before you got on at 9. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. Unattractive people, why are they so bad? 5 reasons. Third one will surprise. Dude, and I hate it because I'm such a bored prick that I love to dunk on these downtrodden guys. It's so easy, it's so fun, and the anger that comes back, but it's not helping things. But I still do it.
The thing is, though, it may be helping them. Because if 1 out of 100 guys can get their hair out of their ass, that's a good thing.
I honestly think that Pareto principle, too. I think that's as true just because somebody read Rational Male. I don't think it's not going to not apply to you. I mean, even the married red pill subject. Let's leave aside that the red pill is younger, skews heavily to autism. At least in married red pill, everybody's been laid at least once because they got a wife. At least I hope
Probably
so.
Just about once.
Yeah. But like out of 100 guys that'll come in there, you're right. 50 of them will go to Ask MRP, ask the stupidest question that they could have learned on 30 seconds of research. Somebody calls out their frame. They have a temper tantrum. They get banned. Then in mod mail, they start calling everybody dickless losers. And of the rest, there's 30%. That 50% is just gone. Forget about it. 30% of what's left will end up kind of putting some lip service on it. They'll be like alpha as wolf. They'll ham-fistedly do stuff. They'll half-ass the effort. And maybe like 2 out of 10 will be guys like the Litz, who's just, okay, I get it. I'll put in the work. I have to read Rational Mail in the parking lot at a Walmart, like the Bogey D6 thing, because the wife just won't leave me alone. I just need some space away from her right now. Building my frame, but right now I'm not in a position to handle that. until eventually you get, and then those 2 out of 10 guys are going to stick around. And so it ends up being an awesome space because it's all these guys have their act together, collected with all these other guys that have their act together, with a constant influx of guys who don't. And then occasionally guys will fall off, which I enjoy the experience.
Like, I can't tell you the amount of times that I have done exactly the thing everybody told me not to do. Don't talk to her about your transformation. Don't tell her why you're going to the gym more. Don't do this. Don't. And I did all of it because, I thought I was different. I remember my first post on MRP. I think it was the one that wine just shut the hell down. It was like I laid out my life, like, of all the details and why all of these reasons why I'm different and why I'm unique and a special flower, and Winemore just basically called me a faggot and was done with it. and then I remember asking him, like, what the hell, and he basically told me come back when you can pay attention and not be all about yourself. Like, get out of that headspace. And that was really helpful. Like, it was traumatic to some degree, but you can't grow without trauma.
Yeah, 100%. I'm saying that constantly. That trauma is how, otherwise, the way you've been doing things now, well, like you said before with the Arab Spring, how you need like that hardship, you have to have some kind of destitution to it. If you don't have that, then you're going to keep just mulling it over and sulking along with those same mental models that you had before that don't work. And it's the closest I've come to seeing anything manufacturing the kind of trauma that comes from a wife leaving you when she was your world or cheating on you, is to basically have Winemore please call you a fag. That's it. It works pretty well.
He comes off, like, unless you've seen him, as this like mega, like, probably ripped, he comes off like Bogey probably looks.
Yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, he's this like meek Asian gentleman who will tell you to fuck off. Like, I would just want to call him Miyagi or something all the time.
Yeah. Nothing super special about him to look at him. He would look like any number of 100 people you'd meet in the street every day, but rock solid frame.
Correct.
And it makes all the difference in the world. Like, for the people that have followed him and his story, he's not exactly like, how many other ways can you possibly succeed in life? I think right now the only problem he has is that he has to move to a new house to be closer to a school for his new kid.
Oh, that's a terrible, terrible problem. And so I'm going to smash a little bit on the money thing. When I had money and no frame, I wasn't getting laid, okay? And then I realized, like, okay, that's not doing it for me. So what else is it? And it wasn't getting jacked. It wasn't anything like that, because I'm in good shape, but I'm not jacked by any means. And at 5'4", it's hard to be jacked, like look jacked, okay? Like, it's hard to present that. But what made the difference was understanding that some people will find me valuable, even if I don't know why, and I have to figure out what it is they see so I can figure out whether it's worth for me to lean into that or not.
That's a good way to approach it too. Because I know women don't know other than other than their bodies. Because I've asked back before I got banned permanently from Purple Pill debate, it was always, what do you bring to the table other than sex? And almost no girl could answer that question. They just called me an ass, which fair enough. And I kind of see why I was banned now. But a lot of guys don't either. Like, when I was knee deep in dating and that, I didn't know what I offered to the table. I didn't even call myself a sailor. I said I was an accountant.
Right.
Because I was in like Victoria, BC, which is kind of like a half hippie town. So it might work for you, but it might not. But the kind of girls that like sailors, I kind of didn't want anyway. But an accountant was just easy.
So I did a little experiment. I walked into the same bar for like a couple of months straight, and the guys that were regulars knew who I was, but anybody who was new didn't know who I was, what I did, all that stuff. And I would literally make up different jobs for myself and lay the same kind of game on different women and just see what happens. It's just the funniest thing. Like, if I just lead with like, hey, blah blah, yeah, I do this at this place, and you know what I do, right? If I led with my regular job, it would be like oh, can I take a ride in your car and see your house? But if I
Yeah,
led with, yeah, I'm just a dude and I just do whatever. I help guys figure shit out, or I would say that I like counsel people, because really that's what I do. If you think
essentially.
about it, different reaction. It was beautiful. You could always like weed out who's doing what or who's there for what.
Yeah, 100%. The accountant thing, I didn't get that as much. I probably should have picked different jobs. I just noticed everybody was always trying to be a golf pro or some very high prestigious status job. And I liked it because it was the most boring job that nobody cared to ask more about, except for in April. All of a sudden, everybody had a question then. And I'm like, I don't talk about work when I'm hammered. That got me through it. I think that's the one. And here's the funny thing. So I hated doing any game when I had a foreign port in the States. I hated it. I didn't like it at all. And I don't know what it is about American girls, but they're just not my cup of tea. And I think part of it is the absolute like focus they have on jobs. Like
Well,
I hate talking about work with coworkers. Of course I'm gonna hate talking about it to girls.
so yeah, that's kind of been my experience because they've been acculturated to be broken men in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And all they really need is somebody to tell them they understand and it's okay. And what are you making me for dinner?
Yeah, honestly, going to the States now, I could see taking that approach. It'd probably be helpful. I'd probably call you up for some tips, but yeah. I guess part of it is really that's like their frame is that your job is what you are. You have to be higher status than me in whatever job you are. And just ignoring that frame and having your own is probably a superpower. Wish I'd have known it back then.
Well, that's the thing. Like when I said, like, I feel sorry for the higher achieving women, sometimes it's they have some of the same problems that guys do, in that they're never sure why somebody is into them because they've probably had to let some of their physical appearance go, or by the time they're done getting good at that professional field, they're in their 30s. And like, what now? So I feel for them like in that way. But again, I've seen them react differently. I've seen them go online and like blast men and how men are awful and all that stuff. And I've seen them, lose 100 pounds and, marry a construction worker who probably rails them into the floor every day. Like, they handle it differently, but they have some of the same problems. And again, like people say, "Oh, red pills, we hate women." No, we don't. If we hated women, we wouldn't spend so much time on them.
Yeah. At least not as a group. Individually, like I said, I always laughed at you. You have to love women. I'm like, really? Even Casey Anthony, like her too?
Right.
I like that. I think, and I guess if you worship something and somebody doesn't, it probably looks like hate. For me, I take the approach individual level. Based on somebody's talents, I'll either like them or I won't like them. Maybe it's quality on them, maybe it's a quality on me, whatever. Girl's a complete cunt, I don't care.
Right.
But I
I
won't
mean,
talk
I
to her
just
either.
I just popped into the chat for a second, and I'm on my phone, so I can't do two things at the same time. But I can tell Jack that I'm for hire if he can afford me.
Nice. Oh yeah, you should see the chat, dude. I want to give a huge shout out. Chest Rockwell, Rule Zero Dad. If you guys don't know who he is, so he, Curvy, myself, Wine More Please, and I guess even Hunter Drew back then, all kind of started this at around the same time, whereas that's why he jokes calling us the alumni class. But huge shout out to Corey. He is cleaning the hell up that live chat. A lot of guys, any sulking, any whining, any complaining, and he's nuking it from orbit. God bless that man. His time, I guarantee you, I can't afford his time that he's spending here. I wish I could give him a like, but it's not Reddit, so whatever. Just smash the like button if you love the job he's doing in here.
I mean, Chesty was always one of those guys who just had his act together even when he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really appreciate that. Him, who I would really love to talk to again would be Frenchie.
Oh, yeah. I wish he'd come back. I don't know where he is now. By the way, he has your car, just a couple years older.
He's what?
He has your car.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, we've talked briefly on the phone in a bit, and we swapped some photos and that, so it's kind of neat to see it.
So then I'm in good company.
Oh, great company. He's probably still up in the mountains right now with his. He's a guy in his 60s, by the way, guys, who he lost his wife. He became a widower and he just didn't know how to date anymore. Like he literally had his unicorn and he lost her. So like just simple things like him having to learn how to just have like an angry like hate F with a girl. So he ended up in the mountains with a girl that makes artisanal bread, like enjoying 3 months out of the year. Absolutely hilarious how he had his plates.
But that guy, you know, he could tell us about his relationship and how he kind of kept her in line through however many years. Mm-hmm. And it was beautiful because he actually had the right frame. He had frame. He understood what was happening. He just hadn't started a conversation with a woman in, 3 decades at that point.
Yeah, well, not just that. Every girl he was dating, he had put in sex and love so intertwined that any girl he met, he had to compare to his wife,
right?
And they would never match up to it ever. So he's just like, yeah, no girl's good enough. I don't get it. I'm like, they don't have to be. Don't make it out to be more than it is. It's just rubbing uglies. And then once he did that, and he just realized, like, I don't actually have to like a girl to have sex with her. And then he just started enjoying them for what they are, and they're not going to be as good as his wife was,
Right.
And he was okay with that. Good enough.
Right. And that's the thing. He was there for a brief amount of time. He put value into the group. He would tell the younger guys to, F off whenever they were out of line and explain why. And he was always calm. But then, he got value out of himself, I hope, at least. That's what the whole thing is about over there. I haven't been there much lately, so I just I'll come in, I'll dunk on somebody and leave.
There's a weird TradCon thing trying to come in, but for the most part, it looks like there's enough guys that are switched on still there to kind of quash it. So that's good. I would hate to find out there was like a window of opportunity that people could have gotten in for value. Luckily, it's still there. But imagine that, though, if there was it. There was a 5-year period, and if you weren't there, then that's it. Oh, that'd be brutal.
Honestly, I often think that's going to be our perception, because if you look at anything that we do, we as human beings, when we were in it, it was the best. And, 5 years later, it's not quite good enough, because remember the good old days.
Yeah. Actually, you might be onto something there, because that was what happened with the other fake Russian dude from the Red Pill. Where they started getting into sexual dynamics, learning how to get girls, and then he found out it's not as difficult as it sounds. Like you said, you put in the work, you get yourself game, you get yourself frame, you start putting some hobbies together, and everything kind of clicks together. And then you realize that's it. It's like, yeah, that's it.
Right.
But then he that can't be it. And so he started going like deep and wide into like, maybe it's about politics or the Russian Revolution. And it's like everybody, it's good for what it does. And that's fine. Once you learn how to fix your engine, you don't need to turn that into like an engineering project. It's engine repair. Leave it for where it is. Right. I think a lot of guys get that problem.
And the thing is, the whole idea of a red pill being the reality of how things work, they want to apply it to everything. They want to apply the same framework to everything in their lives. And the reality is that the red pill for, let's say, money may be a little bit different than the red pill for game and the red pill for, career. Like, some things are the same, and we can teach you how to, through our experiences, how to fix those elements of your life that need fixing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, not one element is going to be the key. It's having your life together. It's being an adult.
Pretty much. And then once you start getting into politics, things become so overly complex that it just becomes guesswork. And then go test it out is like the mantra for any red-pilled anything. Go test it for yourself. Replicate it. I don't know how you could do that with politics. How do you test it for yourself to see like if Hillary Clinton should have won the popular vote? It just doesn't fit as a model. And all it ends up doing is complaining about team red or team blue.
Right. So, the whole politics thing, it's just a validation thing where you can express which side you're on and that you're morally superior because of X or Y or Z. That's all that is. It's like, which side do you find to be socially superior, morally superior, and are you a communist, or are you a socialist, or are you a red-blooded American or whatever else?
Come on over, honey. We can talk about it tonight. But yeah, whatever. If there was guys getting laid in like Lenin's Russia, we'll be fine.
So here's the thing, and it was actually probably easier in Lenin's and Stalin's Russia because there were fewer guys because most of them were killed.
Fair point. Fair point.
Like literally, there are songs from that era that basically say along the lines of, "If he doesn't beat you, like then he's a good man and you should keep him. Fight to keep him."
Damn. Talk about your standards.
You know, because that's what it was. You had a bunch of PTSD'd out dudes from the war who didn't have tolerance for much bullshit. And the women, while they weren't really different women, but they had seen significant adversity, you know, so they were able to do it. I'm speaking from hell itself.
I don't know. I think he's talking about, like, I don't think he understands how bad Russia was in like the 40s and 50s, but.
Oh, yeah. So if you haven't, and obviously this is not something I've experienced, I'm too young to experience this, but I've heard about it from my dad and all that kind of stuff. But if you haven't had to sleep with your wife while the neighbor's kids are about 2 feet away and the only privacy you have is a curtain because there is one apartment for 5 families, you haven't really lived.
Haven't even lived. I guess we'll end it on that one, though. We hit the 2-hour mark. Thanks, guys, for showing up. Again, thanks again to Chesty moderating the chat. We got Curvy here. Stick around. We've got more videos coming in. I don't know the spiel. Just thanks for showing up. Hope you'll enjoy the show. Cheers, guys.
All right,
Anything you want to end us off on?
Nah, just, keep your head together, honestly. It's not about them. It's about you. That's it.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Cheers.